Introduction. Humankind has long pondered the mystery of the mind, that remarkable faculty which separates us from every other species. Why does our ability to reason, communicate, and imagine possibilities stand so far above even our closest relatives in nature? It is this mind, powerful, complex, and infinitely creative, that has shaped civilizations, cured diseases, built empires, and overcome despair. The same mind that carried humanity forward through centuries of progress is the one you possess right now, and it is the key to your own transformation. This book is more than a collection of ideas. It is a set of keys to unlock a better, more resilient, and more fulfilled version of yourself. It offers practical wisdom for navigating a world that has become increasingly uncertain. A world reshaped by economic instability, social tension, global change, and the lingering effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, individuals and institutions alike face a profound test of endurance. The world's pace grows faster, its challenges sharper, and its guarantees fewer. Many people wrestle quietly with midlife dissatisfaction, burnout, or the uneasy feeling that life has drifted off course. Yet, within this tension lies an extraordinary opportunity, the opportunity to rise stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. The truth is simple: change has never been easy. Life was never designed as a crystal stair for anyone. Growth is often born from discomfort, and transformation is usually triggered either by desperation or inspiration. For some, it takes a storm to awaken purpose; for others, a quiet whisper of realization. But in every case, change begins when we decide that the pain of remaining the same is greater than the fear of becoming more. To illustrate, consider what I call the until principle. How long will a mother wait for her child to walk? Until he walks. And walk he surely will. How long will the ant persist in its journey? Until it reaches the other side. The ant will climb over, crawl under, or dig through any obstacle in its path. That is resolve, and nature rewards it unfailingly. Benjamin Disraeli captured this truth when he said, "Nothing can withstand the will of a man who has staked his very existence on the accomplishment of his goal." The world has a curious way of stepping aside for the person who declares with conviction, "I will succeed or I will die trying." Life does not yield to the timid. It honors those who persist. No one ever strolls their way to the summit. Resolve, one small word that contains a universe of power. It is the quiet covenant you make with yourself: I will not give up. I will not postpone my better future any longer. This book invites you to make that covenant today. Within these pages, you will find stories, reflections, and actionable steps to help you develop resilience, clarify your purpose, and thrive under pressure. But more importantly, you will find a call to awaken your inner strength, to meet your other self, the one capable of extraordinary success. Because you do not remain the same after a decision to rise. That moment changes everything. Life was designed not to reward need, but to reward effort. It does not respond to longing, it responds to planting. If you wish to reap, you must sow with faith, with discipline, and with focused intention. So, plant generously. Plant your dreams in the soil of daily effort, water them with belief, and shield them with persistence. The harvest always answers the hand that labors. My wish for you is simple and sincere. May you live with abundance of purpose, clarity of mind, and strength of spirit. May you embrace the virtue of reason, the pursuit of knowledge, and the faith that your best life is not beyond reach. It is waiting for your decision. Success is not something we chase. It is something we attract by the person we become. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Your job can earn you a living, but working on yourself will earn you a legacy. We may not always control circumstances, the economy, the weather, or the seasons of life, but we can always control ourselves. And when we change ourselves, everything around us begins to shift. To have more, we must become more. It all begins with the mind and the conviction of the heart. That is where transformation begins. That is where greatness is born. You were built for this, for resilience, for purpose, and for extraordinary success. Everything begins in the mind and takes root in the heart. That's where transformation is born. And you, my friend, are already built for it. Chapter 1: The Ambitious Seed Sower. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed. Michael Jordan. The Farmer's Lesson. My father, Alhaj Yakubu Suleiman, of blessed memory, was a man whose name echoed through the rural settlements of Ashanti region from the 1950s through to the early 1990s. He was a farmer, not just by trade, but by philosophy. To him, the act of sowing seeds was more than work. It was life's greatest metaphor. Before he became a farmer, he worked as a night guard, locally nicknamed Watchman, for cocoa purchasing clerks scattered across Ahafo Ano North, in small towns like Adidwama, Pokakram, and Kwame Danso. He guarded the dreams of others before learning to plant his own. Eventually, he settled in a quiet village called Bonkwaso No. 1, where he turned acres of earth into classrooms. His students were his children, and I was one of them. From him, I learned that every morning begins with two choices: to stay asleep in comfort or to rise and sow. Morning after morning, I followed behind him as he scattered seeds into the brown Ghanaian earth, his movements steady and sure, guided by a mix of science, patience, and mystery. The soil, he often said, doesn't care about your feelings. It rewards only consistency. The law of effort. From my father's fields, I learned a truth that would later shape my entire philosophy on success. Nothing grows without effort. The soil will not yield in advance of your sowing. It does not care whether you feel inspired or exhausted. It only asks, did you show up, did you sow? In life, as in farming, the law of averages governs the outcome. You do not know which seed will grow, but you must keep planting anyway. Some seeds will never sprout. Others will be eaten by birds, lost to the wind, or scorched by the sun. But a few, just enough, will take root, flourish, and feed your soul. Jim Rohn often said, "We've got to pay the price if we want to achieve the things we want to achieve." It's not too much to ask. The price is perseverance. One of my favorite modern mentors, Jeff Bezos, expressed this principle through business. Our approach to failure is different. We are willing to go down a bunch of dark alleys and occasionally find something that really works. The big successes pay for all the mistakes. Bezos understood that experimentation and failure are not opposites of success. They are its foundation. In his world, that meant launching products that sometimes flopped spectacularly, like the Fire Phone, while others, like Amazon Web Services, became world-changing. In your world, it may mean launching ideas, projects, or conversations that fail at first, but keep sowing. Because the more you plant, the more life will return a harvest. When you're just starting, you might not be skilled, but you can make up in numbers what you lack in skill. If your success rate is 1 in 10, 1 yes for every 9 no's, and you need 5 sales, then speak to 50 people. Improve your skill and your ratio improves, but until then, let the law of averages carry you forward. Jonathan Lee, a young telecom salesman, once pushed himself to knock on hundreds of apartment doors. Most slammed in his face. But on the final 3 doors of a long, discouraging day, 3 people said yes. Those last 3 sales changed his career. Persistence activates probability. The more you show up, the higher your chances of success. The universe rewards motion, not emotion. Bezos put it this way: if the size of your failures isn't growing, you're not going to be inventing at a scale that can actually move the needle. It's not about avoiding failure, it's about growing through it. In life, like in farming, the only real failure is to stop planting. Discouragement often comes from emotional attachment to a single seed, a single idea, relationship, or opportunity we desperately want to succeed. But wisdom comes from detachment, from trusting that the next season, the next seed might hold your harvest. My father never mourned the seeds that didn't grow. He simply kept planting. And over time, his fields provided for 7 strong children and educated us all. His secret wasn't luck, it was discipline. His faith was not in the seed, but in the process. You may not control which seed will sprout, but you do control how many you plant. Keep sowing. Keep showing up. Because when the law of averages finally turns in your favor, it will look to everyone else like an overnight success. The soil rewards the hands that never stop sowing. Reflection. Too often, we hesitate to act because we crave guarantees. We want certainty that our seed will grow before we plant it. But life doesn't work that way. Faith is not believing it will happen. Faith is acting as if it already has. When you stop waiting for perfect conditions and start sowing daily effort, life rewards you with compound growth. Every effort, no matter how small, multiplies through time and consistency. Remember, you cannot control the harvest. You can only control the sowing. Action plan. Identify one area in your life where you've delayed action because of fear of failure. List 3 small seeds, actions you can take this week that move you forward, regardless of outcome. Track your planting, not your harvest. Focus on effort, not immediate results. The numbers will eventually work in your favor. Journal prompts. Where have I allowed fear of failure to stop me from sowing seeds? What daily actions could I commit to, even when motivation fades? How can I emotionally detach from outcomes and fall in love with the process? What dead seeds from my past might have been necessary lessons for future growth? How can I embody the patient faith of the farmer in my career, relationships, and personal goals? Chapter 2, Thoughts. We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. Lord Buddha. Your life is the harvest of your thoughts. Whatever you think about most, you bring about. Rhonda Byrne in The Secret calls thoughts the preview of life's coming attractions. But here's the truth. Only a few people rise to the top, not because of luck, money, or connections, but because of the way they think. Napoleon Hill, after interviewing more than 500 of the world's most successful people, wrote that the greatest secret is this: thoughts are things. Every fortune, every empire, every breakthrough began as an idea held tightly, a seed watered with belief, persistence, and action until it grew into reality. Success, Hill taught, does not start with wishing. It starts with a definite purpose, what he called a burning desire. So let me ask you, what do you really want? Have you written it down? Do you read it every morning? Do you feel it when you say it? Because if not, it is only a hope, and hope is not a strategy. Your mind is a garden, and you are its sole gardener. Every day, you are planting something, a belief, a doubt, a dream, a fear. The seeds you plant will determine the harvest you reap. Plant seeds of courage, discipline, and learning to reap growth, confidence, and clarity. Neglect your garden to weeds of fear, bitterness, and laziness will grow by default. No farmer in the world expects yam to grow if he never planted yam seeds. No maize farmer expects harvest in November if he never planted in April. Yet many expect success without first planting seeds of thought. You cannot dump garbage into your mind daily, gossip, fear, negativity, self-pity, and expect to harvest peace, wealth, or joy. The weeds are inevitable, but the flowers are your choice. In 1979, while on tour with his brothers, 21-year-old Michael Jackson scribbled a note to himself on the back of an itinerary. It wasn't a casual daydream, it was a manifesto. He wrote, "MJ will be my new name, no more Michael Jackson. I want a whole new character, a whole new look. People should never think of me as the kid who sang ABC. I will be a new, incredible actor, singer, dancer that will shock the world. I will be magic. I will be a perfectionist, a researcher, a trainer, a master. I will be better than every great actor roped into one." Those were just words on paper, thoughts captured. But decades later, the world saw what he had written come alive. Michael didn't just dream, he decided. That's the difference between vague hopes and burning desires. Thoughts held with conviction shape reality. Even 2,000 years ago, the Roman poet Lucretius wrote, "Nothing can be made from nothing. Each thing springs from the source that has the matter that it needs." Barry Gibson reminds us that the simple but powerful phrase, "thoughts are things," isn't just poetic, it's actionable. Diving into Think and Grow Rich, he emphasizes that when thoughts are paired with definite purpose, persistence, and a burning desire, they become powerful forces that shape reality. He highlights how one's mindset, when anchored in clarity and emotional conviction, can turn ideas into opportunity. A vivid example: a hopeful inventor, guided by conviction and determination, seized the chance to collaborate with Thomas Edison despite humble beginnings. His belief became his breakthrough. The takeaway? It's not merely the volume of thoughts that matter. but the quality, the emotional fuel behind them, and the unwavering commitment you attach. Thoughts framed with clarity and courage become things that knock opportunities into your life rather than the other way around. The same is true for life. Nothing just happens. Every invention, every building, every revolution first began in thought. Just as a farmer cannot expect yam from barren soil, you cannot expect greatness from an empty mind. Thoughts are the seeds of all achievement. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught that a man is free only when he controls what is within his power. Everything else is outside his control. What then is within your power? Your reason, your choices, your thoughts. Animals have strength, speed, or beauty, but man's peculiar gift is reason, the ability to think, to decide, to choose his response. When reason matures into virtue, life flourishes. In African wisdom, we say, a bird does not change forests because of fear of traps. Likewise, you cannot abandon your purpose because of fear. Thoughts anchored in reason and belief are stronger than circumstances. James Allen wrote, "Until thought is linked with purpose, there is no intelligent accomplishment, as the physically weak man can make himself strong by careful and patient training, so the man of weak thoughts can make them strong by exercising himself in right thinking." In other words, a thought without purpose is powerless. But a thought rooted in belief, repeated with clarity and emotional conviction, gains strength. Over time, it shapes the world around you. Just as a farmer trains seedlings to grow strong through water, careful tending, and purpose, so you must cultivate your thoughts. It's not what the world throws at you that matters most, it's where you plant your mind. Your subconscious doesn't respond to casual wishes. It responds to conviction, emotion, and repetition. That's why Napoleon Hill taught the principle of autosuggestion, training your mind by feeding it the thoughts you want it to believe. If you say every morning, "I am earning 1 million a month doing what I love. I am a disciplined, focused leader. I am free, unstoppable, and impactful," and you feel it, your mind will begin to bend your actions, habits, and energy toward making it true. Your subconscious cannot process no. If you think, "I don't want to fail," your mind hears only fail. Instead, think, "I am succeeding, I am prepared, I am growing." Wallace D. Wattles wrote in The Science of Getting Rich, "Man can form things in his thought, and, by impressing his thought upon formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created." Your subconscious mind does not argue, debate, or reject. It accepts what you give it, then sets about finding ways to make it real. Think of it as a loyal servant or an obedient worker. If you continually feed it images of struggle, fear, or lack, it sets to work producing circumstances that mirror those very things. But if you feed it belief, purpose, and a clear mental picture of what you desire, it begins quietly arranging conditions, opportunities, and ideas that align with your vision. The subconscious mind does not sleep. Just as a farmer plants seeds and the soil silently works day and night to bring those seeds to life, your inner servant never stops working on what you plant. And like soil, it makes no judgment about whether the seeds are weeds or crops. It will return to you whatever you sow with persistence. When Wattles says that man can impress his thought upon formless substance, he is describing the subconscious as the bridge between imagination and reality. It is the silent engine that drives your outer world, faithfully producing after its kind. Reflection. What seeds are you planting daily in your mental garden? Which weeds, fear, doubt, bitterness, do you need to uproot? What's one definite purpose that could become your burning desire? Action. Write down one desire in present tense. I am building a business that changes lives. Read it aloud every morning and every night for 30 days. Refuse to feed your mind with negativity. Replace one daily input of trash, gossip, social media scrolling, TV noise with seeds, a good book, meditation, or affirmations. Journal prompt. If my mind is a garden, what kind of harvest am I preparing for? Am I sowing weeds of fear or flowers of faith and discipline? Chapter 3. The wait is worth it. Pressure is the incubator for greatness. Hashim Atakura Suleiman. There's a battle between what's real and what's visible, and most people lose because they don't understand the difference. The hen doesn't stop sitting on her egg just because she can't see the chick growing. She doesn't need visible progress to stay consistent, she trusts the process. Day after day, she waits, warms, and protects that fragile shell because something alive is forming inside it. The hen doesn't quit just because she can't see daily growth within the shell. She stays. She believes. She keeps warming the unseen. You might be in that same season. The work is invisible. The grind is repetitive. The results? Delayed. But what's growing in silence is real. The breakthrough is under construction, and it's depending on you to stay long enough to see it hatch. We confuse slow with dead. We mistake pressure for failure. But sometimes pressure is just pregnancy. Your dream is alive, but it needs time. Starting your biggest dream feels like lifting weight that keeps breaking you down. No applause, no momentum, no help, just gravity. And grief. And growth. The easiest thing is to throw your hands up in despair. But don't. You don't get to quit just because it's hard. You don't get to retreat just because it's taking longer than expected. You were built for this. Growth only occurs in the incubator of pressure. Precious minerals only form under heat. Let the molecules and micropieces of your story crystallize into something unbreakable. Die on the battlefield. Don't die a coward's death, die on the battlefield. A proud man, a hero, not one who gave up because the path was least resistant. The least resistant path never builds legacy. It's crowded, shallow, and lined with regret. You want the soft life without the sacrifice. It doesn't exist. Everything meaningful comes with weight, but the weight is what shapes you. So what now? You face the mirror, you face the war inside. You stop blaming the world, the economy, your upbringing, your parents, your past, and you rise man up, woman up, step up. Your future self is waiting on you to change. Your family, your children, they're counting on you. They need the strongest, healed, disciplined version of you, not the one who folded under pressure, but the one who stood back up every time life pushed them down. And above all, don't you dare let yourself down. You're the one who must live with your choices. You'll carry the weight of quitting or the reward of conquering. Stay in the game. Stay under the weight until it becomes your strength. This fight is building you. This fire is refining you. This silence is where your future is forming. Life is worthwhile if you stay. The story of Marcus and Alina. Marcus and Alina stood in their tiny one-bedroom apartment, staring at a stack of overdue bills. Married for just 2 years, both came from families who struggled financially. Marcus worked part-time at an auto shop while finishing his HVAC certification. Alina, who had a hearing disability since childhood, worked as a freelance designer from home. They had every excuse to give up: limited income, no generational wealth, and invisible struggles. But one thing they had in abundance was resolve. Late one night, Marcus said something that changed everything. We can't keep waiting for someone to rescue us. We have to become the people who rescue us. They made a plan. Alina sharpened her design skills through free courses. Marcus began repairing HVAC units for neighbors, often charging less to build loyalty. Within a year, Alina's business doubled through referrals, and Marcus earned his certification and launched his small repair brand. Their breakthrough didn't start with money, it started with mindset. They refused to see poverty as permanent. They saw learning as their way out. They chose discipline over despair. 3 years later, they weren't rich, but they were free. They would often say, "We were built for this. The struggle taught us skills. The lack taught us resourcefulness. The small wins taught us to believe." Too often, we pray for lighter burdens, when what we really need is a stronger back. Marcus and Alina didn't wait for their circumstances to change. They allowed the weight of their season to develop them. The weight forced them to develop discipline they never chose voluntarily. Build skills they didn't know they'd need. Cultivate humility, patience, and focus. Solve problems instead of complaining about them. The weight is not your enemy. The weight is your trainer, and the weight is worth it. Before the world knew his name, Jim Rohn was broke, in debt, and directionless. Then he met Earl Schoaf, who told him something that rewired his mind. If you want to have more, you must become more. That sentence changed everything. Jim stopped chasing shortcuts and started chasing growth. By 31, he became a millionaire. But soon after, he lost it all. Yet, he didn't crumble because the mindset remained. He had become a fortress. That's what I want for you, not just success, but structure. Not just wealth but wisdom, not just victory but becoming. If you stay through the pressure, you become a fortress. If you endure the silence, you become solid. You stop chasing noise and start building substance. My former roommate at the university, now a captain serving with the Ghana Armed Forces based at the 37 Military Hospital, Dr. Bernard Tang, once told me about his early days in the military, reminiscing his first training day. They told us on the first day, "We are here to extract the civilian out of you." That's what the process does. It extracts the weakness, excuses, and fragility from you. The drills, the pressure, the stretching, they're all designed to pull out the version of you that can stand tall under weight. The people who lose are rarely untalented. They simply didn't stay long enough to meet the version of themselves that could win. As Dr. Miles Monroe once said, "The wealthiest place on earth is the graveyard, full of dreams that never came alive." You have the dignity of choice. You can choose the path of least resistance, or you can choose to endure the weight that forges greatness. You are closer than you think. Stay until the weight becomes strength. Stay until discipline becomes instinct. Stay until your faith becomes unshakable. Stay. Jim Rohn didn't become great because of perfect conditions. He became great because he refused to quit. The weight didn't crush him. It converted him. Your weight is doing the same. Don't quit. You were built for this. The weight is worth it. What you're carrying right now, the stress, the frustration, isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build you, but only if you stay long enough to become the person who can carry it with purpose, not just pressure. Magnifying glass tilted right self-reflection. What weight am I currently carrying that feels too heavy? Be specific. Financial, emotional, mental, relational. What would the strongest version of me do in this situation? Where have I taken the path of least resistance, and what has it cost me? If I don't change, who else gets affected? Who must I become to carry this weight with power, not pain? Hammer action steps. Inventory your struggles, list the 3 biggest weights you carry. Attach purpose to pain, write one way each could grow you. Create daily discipline, choose one habit that builds resilience. Celebrate micro wins, recognize small progress each day. Notebook journal prompt. Today, I'm carrying. Instead of breaking me, this weight is building inside me. Chapter 4, The Compound Effect. The greatest transformations don't come from giant leaps, but from the quiet steps you take every day, stacked, repeated, and compounded until they become unstoppable. Hashim Atakura Suleiman. Whatever you pour into life compounds back on you. That's a universal law. Sow one seed, and you don't reap just one seed, you reap a field. Sow to the wind, and you don't just get a breeze back, you get a whirlwind. The lesson: nothing stays the same, everything compounds. Life is not one single, cataclysmic Big Bang moment. It's not one lucky break, one miraculous opportunity, or one dramatic turnaround. Life is the sum of all the small disciplines, repeated day after day, over time. By your late 20s, you've likely tried a few things: a job, a trade, a skill, maybe even a risk or two. You start forming a philosophy, piecing together what truly matters, uncovering the secret to success. And eventually you realize success isn't in one event, it's in the accumulation. The law of accumulation. You don't have to be the same person today that you were yesterday. You can decide right now to make small, disciplined changes, minute shifts in thinking, tiny corrections in habits, subtle improvements in consistency. At first, these changes seem invisible. But stacked, repeated, and multiplied by time, they alter the trajectory of your entire life. Accumulation is automatic. The only real question is, what are you accumulating? You're either piling up value or piling up regret. Every day adds up, on one side of the ledger or the other. Let's look at a man who embodied this principle: Warren Buffett, the Oracle of Omaha. In 1957, Buffett's net worth was just $140,000. 13 years later, it had grown to $25 million. Another 13 years, $620 million. Fast forward again, $17 billion. By 2022, nearly $160.2 billion. Was it one deal, one stroke of luck, one grand opportunity? No, it was consistency, a steady, long-term commitment to one timeless principle. Do what you know best, every day, for as long as it takes. For Buffett, that principle was investing, but the same law applies to every area of life. You may not have Buffett's billions, but you have his principle within reach. If you can't invest money, invest time. If not capital, then competence. If not wealth, then wisdom. Invest in your growth, your relationships, your ideas, and your faith in the process. Long before Abraham Lincoln became president, his mother, frail and dying, looked into his tear-filled eyes and said softly, "Be somebody, Abe." She saw in him what he couldn't yet see in himself. She planted a seed of belief that would take decades to bloom. Often, others glimpse our greatness before we do, but the bridge from potential to extraordinary success is not talent alone. It is diligent commitment to small, consistent actions. So stop waiting for permission to grow. Stop waiting for someone to hand you a sign to start. Every discipline matters. Every decision counts. Nothing is wasted. Life is woven from interconnected threads, choice by choice, habit by habit, until they form a tapestry called a life well lived. The power of decision. Here's the truth: the hardest part isn't doing, it's deciding. Once you decide, the doing becomes easier. If it's an easy decision, take it soft. If it's a hard decision, take it tough. But take it, don't linger in hesitation. Don't die in paralysis. Because the compound effect rewards only the decisive. The universe bends toward the consistent and crowns the committed. Reflection. What am I sowing daily, value or regret? Which small discipline can I begin today that will compound into extraordinary results? Action. Choose one habit to upgrade in the next 7 days. Commit, track it, repeat it. Identify one area of your life where you'll invest, not money, but time, energy, or focus. Journal. How will my daily disciplines today change my story tomorrow? What does being somebody look like for me? Where in my life am I underestimating the power of small, consistent actions? Chapter 5, The Psyche of Money. They taught you how to save pennies. I'll teach you how to print thousands. Back to broke. I remember checking my bank account and seeing less than GHS 10. I'd already skipped meals that week, already cut the Netflix, already deleted the Uber app. I was budgeting like a monk, and yet nothing changed. I wasn't broke because I was careless. I was broke because I wasn't earning enough to cover the life I was trying to live. The apps didn't help. The spreadsheets didn't help. I was a miser, yet still with pennies. I needed a war plan, not a coupon. Here's what nobody tells you about saving money. It's nearly impossible when you're poor. Not because you're lazy or reckless, but because you can't save what doesn't exist. That's not a discipline issue, it's an income issue. So if you're stuck in the cycle of saying, "I just need to manage better," I want to lovingly shake that lie out of you, because the truth is, you don't climb out of poverty with budgeting apps. You climb out with aggression, hunger, and financial obsession. You need more income, not just less spending. The big leaks. You don't save money by cutting out small expenses. Skipping coffee and canceling Spotify won't fix your account balance. The little leaks aren't the problem. It's the big ones: rent, lifestyle, loans, habits. The things that drain your account before you even wake up. If your life is bleeding you dry, the answer isn't another budgeting hack, it's transformation. Not into a smarter spender, but into a savage income hunter. You don't patch a sinking ship with duct tape, you build a new one. Chase high-income skills. Learn what the wealthy know: skills that make money move toward you, not away from you: coding, sales, copywriting, marketing, consulting. Whatever lane you choose, choose one that pays. Don't be the smart broke man or woman. And remember, learning shouldn't lead to more learning. It must lead to direction. If your learning doesn't lead to transformation, you're worse than an illiterate. Because education is for positive change, not knowing's sake. Running full throttle in the wrong direction isn't an advantage. It's time to change course, perhaps not 90 degrees, not 270 degrees, but 360 degrees. Speed is no advantage if you're running in the wrong direction. Dorothea Brande used this idea to emphasize that effort and energy mean little without clarity of purpose. She warned that many people rush through life, busy and active, but without aligning their actions to a meaningful direction. So their speed actually takes them further from success, not closer. In Wake Up and Live, this thought fits into her larger theme. That success depends not on frantic activity, but on decisive, intelligently directed action, knowing what you want, and then daring to act as if it were impossible to fail. It's time to get paid, go after the bag. Ruthlessly eliminate liabilities. Anything that doesn't make you money or give you peace, cut it. That might be a luxury car, a toxic relationship, or a lifestyle you're pretending to afford. The fake life on the internet could be your biggest leak. And most importantly, become the storm. Stop waiting for conditions to improve. Be the condition. Be the pressure. Be the reason your bank account changes. You weren't built to play defense your whole life. You were built to go on offense. Attack. Starve distractions, feed goals. Most people save what's left after spending, and that's exactly why they never save. Flip it. Save first, spend what's left. This isn't just financial advice, it's psychological warfare. It's a battle between your current cravings and your future calling. Every dollar you waste today is an oxygen your future self doesn't get to inhale. You're not permitted to waste oxygen. Your breath is sparse for a reason. You can't be a showboy. Your dreams are suffocating because your distractions are overfed. Treat saving like rent, non-negotiable. Pay yourself first because your life depends on it. It's not about the amount. It's about the identity you're building. You're not a consumer. You're a builder. The Oracle's order. Do not save what is left after spending, but spend what is left after saving. Warren Buffett. That one sentence flipped the entire game. It's not just about stacking money, it's about training your mindset. If you always wait to save what's left, there will never be anything left. Life will eat it. Wealth is a habit before it's a number. Treat saving like rent. Make it a responsibility, not a luxury. That's how you build financial armor. That's how you create room to invest, to grow, to breathe. When Buffett said it, it was wisdom. When you live it, it's warfare. Build financial walls. If your money isn't protected, it's not really saved. Out of sight equals out of mind, and that's the point. You need financial walls. Don't tuck money into an account one swipe away. Lock it behind dragons. Make it hard to reach. Because here's the truth. The broke version of you is addicted to sabotage. You've trained yourself to reach for comfort, not growth. That's why your wealth must be protected from your weaker self. Wealth doesn't just require earning, it requires defense. The discipline of freedom. Saving money won't make you rich, but it will make you dangerous. Savings give you leverage, peace, and time. They're not your empire, they're your armor. When opportunity comes, you won't need to manifest money, you'll have it ready. So no, saving won't make you rich, but it might be the reason you get the chance to become rich. Saving with purpose greater than saving with fear. Don't save just in case, save with intention. Emergency fund. First real estate deal. Business launch capital. Freedom year. Unassigned money disappears, named money multiplies. The mindset over the money. You don't need to start big, you just need to start. Even $5 a day builds identity. You're no longer someone who consumes everything. You're someone who protects their future. Save to invest, to grow, to multiply, to dominate. That's how you break the cycle. Saving is spiritual warfare. It's proof that you believe in a tomorrow worth protecting. Start small. Start scared. Start unprepared. Just start. The war for wealth. Poverty isn't just financial. It's mental. It's the belief that struggle is permanent, that luck is your only escape. But nobody's coming to save you, not your boss, not the government, not your friends. If you want to break the cycle, become the cycle breaker. Study money like your life depends on it, because it does. Formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. Jim Rohn. If you want to escape poverty, stop doing what poor people do. Kevin O'Leary. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus. Discipline is the first investment. Focus is your capital. Freedom is your dividend. You weren't born to just pay bills and wish for weekends. You were built for more. Your mission from here. Study money. Starve weakness. Strengthen your mind. Stack cash. Guard it. Invest with courage. Dominate your lane. This is your breakout, This is your shift. This is your war. Reflection 2. Why do most people spend first and save later? Because spending satisfies the present self. Saving demands belief in a version of you that hasn't arrived yet. Wealth begins the moment you believe your future self deserves protection. If your future self could talk to you right now, what would they say? Would they thank you, or would they plead for air? Action 2. Set a fixed savings percentage and automate it. Start with 10% or even 5%. Consistency greater than perfection. Create a no-access account, no card, no easy transfers. Reverse the math, save first, spend later. Label your savings. Give your money a mission: freedom fund, first business, emergency escape. Journal prompts 2. What triggers cause you to overspend? What would your future self thank you for saving today? What's stopping you from paying yourself first? How has saving later cost you before? Write a letter from your future self, 5 years richer. Chapter 6. The Cost of Comfort. Don't waste major time on minor things. Jim Rohn. The great tragedy of comfort is not that it feels good, it's that it silently robs you of greatness. Comfort lures you into thinking you have time, when in truth, every moment is slipping away. How often have we let an evening vanish into the glow of a television, the scroll of a phone, or the chatter of things that never mattered? Jim Rohn's words cut like a knife because they expose a truth we already know deep inside. Life is too short to be spent majoring in the minors. Extraordinary success is built not in the ease of comfort, but in the sweat of enterprise. Those who rise above mediocrity are not necessarily the most gifted, but the most disciplined in how they spend their time. They choose the meaningful over the convenient, the deliberate over the distracted. And that choice, repeated 1,000 small times, becomes destiny. The most irredeemable loss in life is not money, not status, not even health, it is time. Money can be earned again, possessions can be replaced, even health can, to some degree, be restored. But time, once it slips through your fingers, it is gone forever. You cannot buy it back, you cannot rent it, you cannot store it in a vault for later use. The hours you squander today are the very life you cannot reclaim tomorrow. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, warned us centuries ago, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. He understood that the crowd wastes time chasing appearances, while the wise invest time in substance. He also reminded us bluntly, you cannot afford to waste time, for it is the only truly scarce resource. What he was really saying is this: time is the raw material of life. To squander it is to despise your own existence. Jim Rohn painted the picture so vividly. Imagine a man who spends his day idling, wasting hour upon hour on trivialities. Then, as the clock strikes midnight, he hears the last gong of the day. In a panic, he runs toward the clock, banging on it, pleading for just a few more hours. He wants to buy back his day. But who would listen? The sight would be pitiful, this grown man tugging at the hands of a clock as if they could be persuaded. The world would look at him and say, this man has lost his mind, lock him away in an inn for the deranged. And yet, how many of us live exactly like that man? We laugh at his desperation, but each wasted day is our own silent midnight. We throw away the precious hours as if they are infinite, only to regret when time refuses to be bargained with. Change rarely comes on its own. It arrives in only two forms: either you are inspired or you are desperate. Inspiration lifts you, opening your eyes to what's possible and pulling you toward a higher vision. Desperation, on the other hand, strikes when life has cornered you, when you've ignored the signs too long, and now you're forced to move. Both change the course of a man, but one spares him regret, the other carries him through pain. History and scripture gives us vivid lessons. Think of the days of Noah. The ancient account tells of a people who mocked him while he built the ark. They laughed at his work, scorned his warnings, and drowned themselves in drunkenness and indulgence. They coasted through their days as if the sun would never set, wasting precious hours in folly. But when the rain began to fall, desperation was all that remained. By then, it was too late. The ark had already sailed, and their mockery had turned into wails of despair. The story is more than ancient folklore. It is a mirror to our times. How many today are like those people, laughing at discipline, mocking preparation, wasting away the one gift that cannot be renewed, time? They drink, they coast, they laugh off responsibility, assuming the storm will never come. Yet storms come. They always do. My friend, I say this sincerely. Understand that everyone is responsible for shaping their own destiny through planning, rather than relying solely on chance. Luck is not merely a random occurrence, but the residue of diligent preparation and strategy. I hope, for your sake, the wagon of inspiration finds its way to your doorstep before desperation has to drag you from your sleep. I hope something awakens you now, in this very minute, before the rain begins to fall. Do not waste this precious gift of life coasting, drifting, and doing far less than what you are truly capable of achieving. This guy says to me, "You won't believe it, Mr. Rohn, I just bought this big TV. Only cost me $450, I said. No, it cost you about $12,000. He looked confused. What do you mean? You've been watching it every night for the last 3 years. That's prime time. Time you could have spent working on yourself, building something, reading, learning, starting. You didn't just pay $450, you paid with lost opportunity. You traded time, potential, and progress for entertainment. That's vintage Jim Rohn. His point wasn't anti-TV, it was pro-awareness. The real cost of comfort isn't the sticker price, it's the opportunities lost while you sit in comfort. Now don't get me wrong, watching TV isn't a sin. Unless, of course, it replaces your goals. Unless it robs your grind. Unless it steals your future. Rohn used to say, "The few who do are the envy of the many who only watch." That's why action matters. Shakespeare said it too, "Assume a virtue if you have it not." Act as if the world were as you wish it, and step by step, you may just bend it that way. Talent is fine, but if talent doesn't work, hard work beats it every time. Let me tell you a story. Two young men in a small village went to a soothsayer to inquire about their future. The first was told, "You will one day be king." The second was told, "You will be a nobody." The first boy rejoiced. He strutted through town, fine linen draped on his shoulders, sitting at the city gates, waving at passers-by. He said to himself, "The prophecy is sure, my crown is on its way." The second boy was shattered, humiliated. He thought, "If I'm destined to be nothing, I'll leave." And so he slipped into the woods, far from the eyes of men. There he began to work. He farmed. He cleared acres of land. He sowed crops. He built silently. Years later, famine hit the land. Crops failed. People starved. And then one day a hunter discovered a vast field, bursting with produce enough to feed a kingdom. Who was the farmer? That same boy, once told he'd be a nobody. And the promised king? He was now among the desperate villagers, bowing low to beg the farmer for survival. Here's the principle: enterprise beats ease. Don't sit on your prophecy. Don't coast on your dreams. Don't wish for comfort, wish for adventure. Don't ask for an easy life, ask for a full one. You could choose ease, 3 meals a day, tucked in safely, 100 years of security. But what a boring obituary that would be. No legacy, no mountains climbed, no stories worth telling. Or you could choose enterprise. Work, risk, sweat, failure, adjustment, victory. The tapestry of a life well lived. I tell you, if ease ever weighed ounce in reward, enterprise weighs tons. Elon Musk once said, "There are way easier places to work, but nobody ever changed the world on 40 hours a week." That's truth. Work ethic matters. Tesla wasn't built on ease. SpaceX wasn't built on convenience. Progress is not for the lazy. Pressure is the incubator for greatness. It refines potential into power, comfort into capacity, and dreams into discipline. God's own rhythm proves it: 6 days labor, 1 day rest. Rest is necessary, but it's not the goal. Rest is recovery, not reward. The higher life requires activity. Ceaseless, consistent, intentional activity. Ideas without action? Useless. You can't warm your hands by a fireplace you never fed. You can't ask the soil for harvest if you never gave it seed. The soil will laugh at your request. Who is this clown, asking me for crops without planting? Bring your seed to the marketplace, not your need. Bring your work to the table, not your wish list. A man learns to produce enough to feed himself. Then he marries, now he must provide for 2. Children come, now he must provide for 5. Then he lifts his eyes to the community, and his productivity expands again. Eventually, he affects a region. This is how wealth and greatness grow. It's the expansion of effort. It's not about your mouth alone, it's about your mission. You can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. Zig Ziglar. It's a timeless principle of reciprocity and service, the idea that success isn't achieved by chasing personal gain alone, but by adding value to others. When you make yourself indispensable to others' progress, they naturally open doors for yours. Comfort is deceptive. It whispers that you've arrived when, in truth, you've only settled. Growth rarely happens on a soft couch. It happens in the heat of discomfort, in the stretching, the striving, and the service. The moment life becomes too easy, potential begins to decay quietly. It sounds simple, yet it's the direct opposite of the comfort mentality. Comfort says, protect yourself first. Growth says, add value to others. The cost of comfort is opportunity, the unseen doors that remain closed because we refuse to step into someone else's need. When we get too focused on what we can take, we miss what we are designed to give. And ironically, what we truly desire, purpose, success, fulfillment, only flows after we've become useful to others. Pressure, challenge, and service are uncomfortable, but they are the true incubators of greatness. Every great leader, visionary, or builder has learned that contribution, not comfort, is the currency of significance. Ask yourself, am I trading impact for ease? Am I seeking the applause of comfort over the discipline of growth? When you learn to make yourself valuable to others, to meet their needs, ease their burdens, or spark their progress, life, in turn, conspires to meet yours. That's the paradox of fulfillment. What you give away freely eventually returns multiplied. It's a timeless principle of reciprocity and service, the idea that success isn't achieved by chasing personal gain alone, but by adding value to others. When you make yourself indispensable to others' progress, they naturally open doors for yours. As an entrepreneur myself with a stringer bell of failure titles under my belt, I only draw lessons from the giant failures. Life is exceptionally graceful in this one surest way, that we can avoid pitfalls and roller coaster from 5 years if we would be drawing lessons from well-documented events of other people's failures. At the height of its power, Nokia was untouchable. By the early 2000s, the company commanded over 40% of the global mobile phone market. Their devices were everywhere, from the pockets of students to the briefcases of CEOs. To own a Nokia was to hold the very definition of connectivity and reliability. Their slogan, "Connecting People," was not just branding, it was reality. But then came the sting of comfort. When smartphones began to emerge, led by Apple in 2007 and followed by Android, Nokia underestimated the shift. They believed their dominance was secure, their legacy too deep to be uprooted. Their leaders saw the winds changing, but convinced themselves it was a storm they could weather without reinventing. After all, they had been winning for so long. And this is where the danger of comfort reveals itself. Success can whisper lies. You've done enough, you've built strong enough, you don't need to move so fast. But in the marketplace and in life, standing still is the same as moving backward. At Nokia's last conference before selling its mobile phone division to Microsoft in 2013, CEO Stephen Elop gave a haunting farewell. "We didn't do anything wrong, but somehow we lost." It wasn't that Nokia lacked talent, resources, or vision. It was that comfort made them slow to act. They had the technology but hesitated to disrupt themselves. They had the people but struggled to rally them around bold, risky change. They had the brand but assumed the future would respect their past. The truth is, we can always be pushed off the stage if we stop rehearsing, stop innovating, and stop acting with urgency. The market doesn't reward what we did yesterday, it rewards what we are building today. Disrupt yourself or be disrupted. While Nokia clung to its dominance, other companies leaned into discomfort and dared to cannibalize their own successes before competitors could. Netflix began as a DVD by mail business. By the mid-2000s, it was thriving. But instead of resting there, they killed their own model by pivoting aggressively into online streaming, long before the world was ready. That bold self-disruption saved them from being overtaken by rivals and made them the global giant they are today. Tesla entered the market as a small electric car maker with no chance against established giants like Toyota, Ford, or GM. But instead of comfort, Tesla leaned into constant risk. pushing battery innovation, betting on direct-to-consumer sales, and scaling faster than skeptics thought possible. Today, the same carmakers that once ignored Tesla scramble to catch up. These companies teach us what Nokia forgot. Comfort is an enemy of growth. Discomfort, risk, and reinvention keep you alive. The larger lesson. Nokia's story is not just one of failure, but of warning. It reminds us that extraordinary success is not a final destination, it is a discipline. Comfort, if not confronted, will erode even the mightiest giants. And yet, there is redemption in this lesson. For those willing to see failure not as the end, but as a dress rehearsal for a comeback, the Nokia story still breathes hope. As individuals, leaders, or organizations, our falls can become fuel if we choose to rise sharper, wiser, and restless against the seduction of comfort. It wasn't that Nokia lacked talent, resources, or vision. It was that comfort made them slow to act. They had the technology but hesitated to disrupt themselves. They had the people but struggled to rally them around bold, risky change. They had the brand but assumed the future would respect their past. The truth is, we can always be pushed off the stage if we stop rehearsing, stop innovating, and stop acting with urgency. The market doesn't reward what we did yesterday, it rewards what we are building today. Nokia's story is not just one of failure, but of warning. It reminds us that extraordinary success is not a final destination, it is a discipline. Comfort, if not confronted, will erode even the mightiest giants. And yet, there is redemption in this lesson. For those willing to see failure not as the end, but as a dress rehearsal for a comeback, the Nokia story still breathes hope. As individuals, leaders, or organizations, our falls can become fuel if we choose to rise sharper, wiser, and restless against the seduction of comfort. Final word. Action is priority, activity is the higher life, enterprise beats ease. Don't wait, don't wish, don't wonder. Move, act, sow, invest, build. Because life does not reward ideas, it rewards activity. Reflection. What comforts in my life are silently costing me opportunities? Am I coasting on ease, or am I engaged in enterprise? Who am I becoming through my daily activity or inactivity? Action. Identify one area of wasted time, TV, scrolling, idle chatter, procrastination. Reclaim at least 30 minutes a day and redirect it into growth. Take on one activity this week that stretches you, a skill to practice, a project to start, a person to call, a risk to take. Write down a goal, then take a visible, irreversible step toward it today. Journal. What am I building daily that will outlast me? Where in my life am I asking for harvest without planting seed? If enterprise is better than ease, what enterprise will I give my best energy to this season? Chapter 7. Focus concentration. Until the sun's rays are gathered by the magnifying glass, they remain mere warmth. Once focused, they become power. Hashim Atakura Suleiman. Scatter your attention and your energy dissolves. Focus it on purpose and you ignite transformation. Imagine a magnifying glass on a hot African afternoon. That little convex lens, held just right, can channel the sun's scattered rays into a single, searing point, a power capable of igniting fire. Until the light converges, it's harmless. But bring it into focus and harness it with intent, and the same sunlight becomes unstoppable. This isn't just metaphor, it is physical truth. Convex lenses amplify energy by converging dispersed rays into a concentrated focal point. Now imagine those rays are your own potential, scattered across distractions, half-baked plans, social chatter, and unfocused effort. Without purpose, your life's energy just warms the air. But with laser-like intention, you can ignite your destiny. The ship without a captain. You can wish for better winds, lower taxes, or luck, but without focus, those winds won't carry you. It's like sailing without direction. A ship with the engine running but no helm or captain rarely makes safe harbor. In contrast, a vessel with a clear route, even against headwinds, has a far stronger chance of arrival. A captain charts the course, plots the destination, and shares it with the crew. 9,999 times out of 10,000, the ship reaches port. But the one without direction, even with sails full of wind, it fails, not from lack of wind, but from lack of aim. Focus in the trenches. In many African communities, farmers know this truth well. If you broadcast fertilizer across an entire field instead of applying it carefully where seeds have been planted, it's wasted, expensive, and ineffective. Similarly, focusing your efforts on what matters, your job, family, or craft, delivers results. Scatter them and you get little. Concentrate them and harvest comes. Jim Rohn had a beautiful way of saying things simply. Wherever you are, be there. When you work, work. When you play, play. Don't major in minor things. He compared distractions to a barrage of tennis balls hitting you while leaving the court. In practice, he said, even a professional tennis player caught off guard by a single flying object can lose the point. That is how distractions work. They disrupt focus, erode performance, and deliver defeat. As Jim reminded us often, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. Eliminate distractions, build routines, train your mind to stay on target. In a breakthrough study, researchers devised a method called flying focus, a way to move the focal point along with a target, rather than anchoring it. This allowed laser intensity to be maintained over far greater distances. When we were children, many of us played with a magnifying glass. We held it up to the sun, moving it back and forth until all the scattered rays met at a single point so hot it could burn paper or grass. That was focus, bringing scattered energy together until it had power. But scientists recently discovered something even more fascinating, a way to make that point of focus move along with its target. They call it the flying focus. Researchers at the University of Rochester found that by combining two techniques, a special laser pulse that stretches light into different colors, and a lens that bends those colors at different distances, they could create a moving hotspot of energy. This spot can speed forward, slow down, or even reverse direction, all while keeping its strength. Think of it like this. Instead of you chasing the moving leaf with your magnifying glass, the burning point itself follows the leaf. The power is not lost because the focus moves with the target. This discovery, while technical, carries a message that speaks beyond science. True focus is not rigid, it is adaptable. In African life, many of us know farmers who burn weeds before planting season. When the fire is scattered, it dies out quickly. But when the fire walks across the field with the dry grass, it clears the land with precision and speed. That is the same principle. The energy moves with the target. For your dreams and goals, this means something profound. It's not enough to set a goal once and leave it. Your focus must fly with the changes of life, staying locked on the target even as the winds of economy, politics, or personal struggles shift. Even the giant oak tree in the fields has learned to sway, bend, and tilt to the strong winds because the focus is preserved its leaves and branches. When it forgets the ultimate focus, by sheer resistance and rigidity, guess what happens to this mighty oak? It won't live to tell another story. Rigidity leads to destruction, flexibility leads to survival. In life's storms, wisdom lies in adapting, not resisting blindly. I picture my dad's cassava farm at dawn in Bonkwasso, my beloved village. The wind is calm. The rains haven't come yet. With one strong morning, he weeds the rows, not everywhere, but precisely where the cassava grows. His efforts focus on potential, not periphery. That focus brings growth, harvest, and hope. That morning's clarity outperforms weeks of scattered toil. From scatter to laser focus. Here's how to go from being scattered to becoming a laser. Define your why, your magnifying glass. Understand what you're focusing for. Set a crystal clear goal, a point of ignition. Know exactly where you're heading. Remove distractions, batch your time, limit interruptions, say no to shallow waters. Build discipline, ritualize your focus. As Rohn said, discipline is not a punishment, it's your force multiplier. Adjust dynamically like flying focus, shift as needed, but stay locked on your target. Reflection. Where is your energy scattering? Name the top 3 distractions in your daily life. What is your magnifying glass, your clear purpose that will concentrate your energy? If your goal were a bright point of light, how focused is your beam right now? Action. Identify one major distraction, e.g., WhatsApp scroll, TV, idle chat. Eliminate or limit it for 1 week. Draft one specific, measurable goal, e.g., finish a course, launch something, learn something with a clear deadline. Create a daily ritual, a fixed time block. say 5 to 30 minutes, where you eliminate all distractions and focus solely on your goal. Journal. At what times did I stay focused today, and what made me drift? What one thing, if I stay focused on it daily, will create the biggest impact in a month? How will I feel when my focused efforts finally converge into results? Chapter 8, The Power of Spotlight. The Spotlight Redirected, the Andrew Carnegie Way. In the blinding glare of industrial success, Andrew Carnegie stood not just as a titan of steel, but as a man who understood that the spotlight was never meant to end with him. It was meant to be passed on. Born in 1835 in a one-room cottage in Scotland, Carnegie's early life was steeped in poverty. His family immigrated to the United States in search of a better life, settling in Pennsylvania. He began working at age 13, earning $1.20 a week as a bobbin boy in a cotton factory. But even in the shadows of hardship, Carnegie's drive burned like a flame looking for oxygen. He read every book he could find, soaked up knowledge, and climbed steadily from telegraph operator to railroad superintendent, and then, eventually, into the world of iron and steel. By the time he sold Carnegie Steel to J.P. Morgan in 1901 for $480 million, equivalent to billions today, Carnegie was among the richest men who ever lived. But here's where the story shifts, and where your spotlight chapter finds its heart. Unlike many of his peers who hoarded their wealth in silence, Carnegie turned his entire fortune into a mission. In his landmark essay The Gospel of Wealth, he wrote that the rich have a moral obligation to distribute their wealth during their lifetimes, not hoard it in death. He called wealth a trust, a spotlight, to be used for the public good. And he lived it. Carnegie gave away over 90% of his fortune before he died, funding over 2,500 public libraries, universities, scientific research, world peace efforts, and the arts. His name is etched not only on buildings, but in the minds of millions who never met him, yet benefited from his decision to use the spotlight for others. The spotlight is a trust, not a trophy. Carnegie teaches us that success isn't just about achievement, it's about direction. You can use the spotlight to illuminate your own greatness or to light the path for others. In a world obsessed with visibility and validation, the true giants are those who quietly redirect the spotlight. They don't keep it fixed on themselves, they use it to build stages for others. Like Denzel Washington paying for young actors to go to school, like Carnegie building libraries for poor communities to learn freely, the spotlight used rightly multiplies impact. It doesn't burn out, it burns brighter. Where is your spotlight pointed? Are you using your influence to uplift others or to inflate yourself? Who can benefit from the platform you've built? Are you hoarding your light or spreading it? There are moments in life when the spotlight finds you. It could be a promotion, a public recognition, a win, a breakthrough, a moment when the world turns its eyes toward you. The light shines brightly and all the focus is on you. The temptation in that moment is to soak it in, to stand tall, and to let the shine affirm your worth. But what if the real power of the spotlight isn't about being seen, but about what you choose to reveal? When you get the spotlight, deflect that shine from yourself. Give that shine to others, let that build others up. True strength doesn't hoard glory, it shares it. That kind of power doesn't diminish you, it multiplies your influence. When you redirect attention toward the overlooked, when you call out the contributions of those who walked with you, when you uplift the team, the quiet ones, the steady hands who never asked for recognition, you become the kind of leader that builds legacies, not just moments. Leadership is never about domination. It's not about control. It's not about standing over others. It's about bringing people into the light with you. We are giving power not to dominate others, but to complete them. To complete, to make whole. This isn't about adding something to people as if they lack worth, it's about creating environments where their gifts, voice, and value can come into full expression. That's what real leadership does. It brings forth what's already within. It honors the divine design in each person and creates space for it to grow. It's a call to unity. There is a wholeness we all must pursue, e pluribus unum. Out of many, one. That phrase isn't just a motto on a seal, it's a map. It's an invitation to build something larger than ourselves, a family, a team, a community, a movement, where the differences don't divide us but complete us. Unity isn't uniformity, It's harmony. It's knowing that your voice matters and so does theirs. It's knowing we are all built differently, but we were built for this, to rise, to build, to serve together. So when the spotlight finds you, don't let it end with you. Let it start with you, and then pass it on like a torch. Some people chase the spotlight to be seen. Others use the spotlight to help others be known. That's the kind of legacy that echoes beyond the applause. Let me tell you a true story about someone who understood this: Denzel Washington. One of the most iconic, talented, and respected actors of our time, Denzel never made the spotlight his home. He wore it like a borrowed coat, not for comfort, but for cause. He understood that the stage he stood on wasn't the destination, it was the launch pad for someone else's flight. At the height of his fame, Denzel quietly did something few knew about. He paid the tuition for students attending a summer acting program at Oxford University. No press release, no public pat on the back, just quiet generosity. Among those students was a young, unknown black man from South Carolina with big dreams and no money to match them. His name, Chadwick Boseman. Chadwick would later recall how he was accepted into the prestigious acting program but couldn't afford the fees. That's when Felicia Rashad, who was mentoring him, reached out to a friend, Denzel Washington, who paid the full sponsorship. Years passed, and Chadwick went on to act, create, and rise. And then came Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. A moment in cinema history that exploded around the globe and changed what was possible for young black boys and girls everywhere. It wasn't just a movie, it was a movement, and it started in part with one man choosing to redirect the spotlight. At the premiere of Black Panther, Denzel was in attendance, no longer just an icon, but a quiet architect of another man's destiny. The world was cheering Chadwick, but if you watched closely, you could see a glimmer of pride in Denzel's eyes. That wasn't ego. That was fulfillment. It was in that moment, Denzel had his fulfillment. Watching the light he once deflected from himself now radiate through a man he helped lift. That's what happens when you give away your shine. You create a chain reaction of purpose. You light up futures you'll never see. You build bridges across broken places, and you create access for the overlooked. This is how you turn influence into legacy. You don't use it to elevate yourself, you use it to raise others. You don't just hold the light, you pass it on. Let that build others up. We are given power not to dominate others but to complete them. There is a wholeness we all must pursue, e pluribus unum, out of many one. And here's the deeper truth. When you give the spotlight away, it always finds its way back to you, not as fame, but as fulfillment. That's why the spotlight should never be your identity, it should be your opportunity. An opportunity to invest in people, to multiply your reach through others, to reflect the light toward someone who's been walking too long in the dark. And when that light finally lands on someone you once lifted, when the world sees them rise, that is your reward. So next time the spotlight finds you, don't just bask in it, use it, aim it, pass it. You never know, the next global icon might be standing in your shadow, waiting for their light. You were built for this. So is someone else, and they're counting on you. The story of Denzel and Chadwick isn't just about Hollywood, it's about honor, legacy, and the responsibility of influence. The spotlight is not just the bright lamp that shines on a stage, it is the unseen hand that lifts you, the unseen benefactor who makes room for your dream when the world seems too crowded. Sometimes, the most powerful spotlight is not applause, but belief. Boseman later stood at an awards ceremony, with the world listening, and said, "As fate would have it, I was one of the students that he paid for." Imagine receiving the letter that your tuition for that summer was paid for, and that your benefactor was none other than the dopest actor on the planet. That tuition wasn't just money, it was an act of faith. It was a voice whispering, "You matter, your dream is valid." Boseman would go on to add, "There is no Black Panther without Denzel Washington." Think about that. The highest-grossing African-led blockbuster in history, a film that inspired millions of Africans and people of color across the globe, linked back to a single act of generosity: a spotlight. Boseman concluded beautifully. An offering from a sage and a king is more than silver and gold. It is a seed of hope, a bud of faith. The spotlight matters. When someone believes in you, when someone opens a door, when someone points the light in your direction, it multiplies your courage. It tells you to step forward with confidence. But here is the truth. Not everyone will get a Denzel Washington. Sometimes the spotlight will be your mother, who sacrifices in silence. Sometimes it will be a teacher who refuses to let you settle for mediocrity. Sometimes it will be a boss who takes a chance on your hidden potential. And sometimes you must light your own way until others see the glow. The lesson is this: when the spotlight finds you, don't waste it. Don't shrink, don't second guess. Step into it and then become the spotlight for someone else. You may not be on a red carpet, but you still have a spotlight. It might be in your home, your business, your neighborhood, or your social media. The question is, what are you doing with it? Use these prompts to shift from self-focus to service, from success to significance. Magnifying glass-tilted right self-reflection. Who helped pay your way, not just financially, but emotionally or spiritually, to become who you are today? A mentor, parent, coach, friend, who gave you light when you had none. In what areas of your life do you currently have a spotlight, even if it seems small? Leadership role, parenting, influence online, workplace, community, etc. Chapter 9: The Mother Hen and Egg. Patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. Joyce Meyer. There is something sacred about the image of a mother hen sitting on her eggs. For 21 long days, she withdraws from comfort, entertainment, and wandering. She restricts her movement, lowers her feathers, and watches over fragile shells that hold invisible potential. What she guards cannot yet be seen, but she feels its heartbeat. The hen teaches us something that even the modern entrepreneur, the ambitious leader, and the restless dreamer often forget. Greatness takes incubation. In a world that rewards speed, likes, and instant validation, the mother hen reminds us that process is the price of purpose. She is not lazy, she is strategic. She does not move because movement could kill what she is nurturing. Her stillness is not stagnation, it's incubation. The discipline of sitting still. When a hen lays her eggs, instinct tells her to begin the brooding process immediately. She settles into a patient rhythm, warming, rotating, and protecting the eggs from predators and cold. For 21 days, she denies herself extended feeding, wandering, or even dust baths. Every moment of restlessness could cost her an unhatched chick. Likewise, many people abort their dreams not because the dream wasn't real, but because they couldn't sit through the process. Entrepreneurs give up after 2 failed months. Students abandon their pursuit halfway through the syllabus. Leaders get distracted by applause and forget their assignments. Dreams, like eggs, require steady heat. Not fire that burns out fast, but warmth that lasts. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you do consistently. Nurturing dreams into empires. Every visionary starts with something small and fragile, a concept, a plan, an idea not yet understood by others. The world doesn't celebrate an egg. People only applaud when it hatches. Yet the egg stage is where destiny is formed. Think of Colonel Sanders, who carried his fried chicken recipe across America in his 60s, rejected over 1,000 times before Kentucky Fried Chicken became a global name. Think of Elon Musk, who spent nights sleeping on his factory floor while SpaceX faced repeated failures. Or J.K. Rowling, who was turned down by 12 publishers before Harry Potter saw light. Each was sitting on their eggs. Their 21 days took years, but the principle was the same. They denied immediate pleasure for lasting purpose. They traded comfort for consistency. Delayed gratification is not punishment, it is preparation. The science of waiting. The mother hen knows something most humans forget. Premature movement causes stillbirths. If she abandons the eggs too soon, the life within cools, dies, and disappears without a trace. Success is no different. Every dream dies at the same point it is left unattended. You cannot build empires if you keep leaving your post to peek at what others are doing. You cannot build mastery if you keep switching crafts halfway. Your dream, like the egg, depends on sustained warmth, discipline, consistency, focus. You must sit on it. You must turn it daily. You must protect it fiercely. Even when no one claps, you must keep incubating. Discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. Entrepreneurial parable: the brooding founder. Sydney started a small logistics company in Ghana. In the first 4 years, he barely broke even. His friends advised him to switch industries, Others mocked his stubbornness. But Sydney decided to stay on his nest. He worked quietly, reinvested every profit, and refused the temptation to show off success that wasn't yet hatched. 13 years later, his business became the national provider for some government installations, such as airports. When asked what made the difference, he said, "I learned to sit on my eggs even when nothing seemed to move. I knew something was forming that I couldn't yet see." That is the secret of the hen. That is the secret of builders. Lessons from the hen. Protect your process. Keep your dream away from those who mock or distract. Endure the heat. Growth happens in discomfort. Don't leave your nest. Distraction is the death of potential. Rotate your eggs. Keep improving your ideas. Stagnation kills. Trust the unseen. Life grows before it's visible. Patience is not passivity. It's power under control. The hen is not wasting time. She is becoming time's master. When your breakthrough finally hatches, the same people who doubted your stillness will applaud your results. He who learns to wait will never wait in vain. African proverb. Reflection. What dream are you currently sitting on? Where have you been tempted to walk away before the 21st day? What habits are draining your incubation energy? Action plan. Identify one goal that requires long-term consistency. Create a nest, a focused environment that supports that goal. Eliminate one distraction that tempts you to abandon your process. Journal daily progress, no matter how small. It keeps the egg warm. Journal prompt. If I sit still long enough, what greatness will finally hatch in my life? Chapter 10, Lion and Spider Leadership. The challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude, be kind, but not weak, be bold, but not bully, be thoughtful, but not lazy, be humble, but not timid, be proud, but not arrogant, have humor, but without folly. Jim Rohn. The lion is not the tallest, fastest, or strongest animal in the jungle, yet he is called king because of attitude. Dr. Miles Monroe. Every generation faces a wilderness. Ours is not made of trees and thorns, but of fear, failure, and uncertainty. And in this wilderness, leadership is not optional, it's survival. When people are crawling through the ashes of broken dreams, when motivation has turned to dust, when belief has become brittle, what they need is not pity, but a leader who roars. The lion is that leader. The lion does not beg for respect. It commands it not by size, not by speed, but by spirit. You may be smaller, slower, less resourced, but if you develop the heart of a lion, you can lead empires out of ruins. The lion's leadership code. A lion's power is not in its muscle, but in its mindset. Dr. Miles Monroe once said, "The lion has what I call the spirit of leadership. It's not about power, it's about identity." Let's break that spirit down. 1. Strength without cruelty. Lions are strong, but their strength is purposeful, not wasteful. True leaders are firm, not harsh. They protect the pride, they don't prey on it. Strength must be tempered with self-control. Lesson: you don't have to roar to prove your power. Presence alone can silence noise. 2. Courage in chaos. Lions face threats head-on. They don't retreat when storms rise, they advance. Leadership calls for courage when fear becomes fashionable. A courageous leader says, "I will go first." That single act turns despair into momentum. Lesson: courage is not the absence of fear, it's authority over it. 3. Confidence with purpose. When the lion walks, every creature watches. It doesn't rush, yet it rules. This is the quiet dominance of confidence, born not from arrogance, but from awareness. Lesson: confidence is calm. It comes from knowing who you are and why you lead. 4. Communication that commands. A lion's roar travels up to 5 miles. It's not just noise, it's strategy. Leaders who fail to communicate fail to connect. The roar of a leader is their vision, repeated until it shapes the culture. Lesson: if your team can't echo your vision in your absence, you haven't roared loud enough. 5. Protection and provision. The lion guards its pride. Every hunt, every fight, every rest is for the survival of the group. Leadership is not domination, it is sacrifice. The best leaders think last about themselves. Lesson: to lead is to bleed. Greatness is never comfortable, it's costly. When the lion meets the spider. While the lion teaches presence and power, the spider teaches patience and precision. If the lion is the king, the spider is the strategist. A spider spins silently, persistently, often overnight, weaving a network that captures opportunity. You may never hear it roar, but you will always feel its results. Where the lion represents visionary boldness, the spider represents methodical wisdom. Together, they form a perfect leadership model, bold like the lion, strategic like the spider. The spider's web, leadership in complexity. The spider symbolizes adaptability, sensitivity, and understanding, all essential in today's leadership landscape. It's not enough to roar, you must also read the room. The spider leadership approach can be viewed through personality and influence, using frameworks like the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, MBTI. Understanding people's wiring helps you tailor your approach. Introvert I or extrovert ETH, know who thrives in silence and who shines in spotlight. Sensing S or intuitive N, some need details, others seek vision. Thinking T or feeling F, some lead through logic, others through empathy. Judging J or perceiving P, some need structure, others flow with spontaneity. Like the spider, a wise leader learns to adjust their tone, timing, and tactics to the type of people they're leading, without compromising truth. Lesson: great leadership is not imitation, it's intelligent adaptation. Roar like a lion, weave like a spider. To rise from failure, you must become both, bold enough to face the fire, and wise enough to weave a way forward. When your dream collapses, roar like a lion, don't retreat. When the world misunderstands you, weave like a spider, stay connected, stay strategic. When your faith feels fragile, stand tall, the lion bows to no storm. Your leadership must have fire in its veins and wisdom in its web. Be the kind of leader whose roar restores confidence to the broken, and whose strategy rebuilds what was lost. Reigniting the fire. If life has beaten you down, if your business failed, your vision crumbled, your hope dimmed, remember, the lion is still inside you. It doesn't matter how many times you fell, it only matters how many times you rose roaring. The greatest leaders in history, from David to Mandela, all carried scars. They were not perfect, they were persistent. They learned that failure is not final unless you stop fighting. A lion on the ground is still a lion. So rise again, roar again, rebuild again. Reflection. In what ways have you been leading timidly when you should be roaring? Do you understand your team's spider web, their motivations, fears, and strengths? Action plan. Identify 3 lion traits you will consciously practice this week, e.g., courage, clarity, consistency. Assess your spider web, list key relationships, and how you'll communicate differently with each. Roar daily, repeat your vision aloud each morning until it commands your atmosphere. Chapter 11, Pain. When down in the mouth, remember Jonah, he came out all right. Thomas A. Edison, don't come to the world a flower and return to dust a thorn. The forge of becoming. Life will break you if you let it. But the truth is, what tries to crush you is often what creates you. The real danger isn't failure, loss, or pain, it's spiritual bankruptcy. Those who lose heart before the lesson is complete never discover the strength pain was designed to awaken. Failure is a valuable experience as long as it doesn't become habitual. Every struggle you face is preparation, every setback is strength training. Pain is not punishment, it is a forge. The weight you carry today is building the power you'll need tomorrow. The perspective on failure. Failure doesn't define who you are, it simply marks where you are on the journey. It is never the full story. Everyone, without exception, faces failure. From business leaders to athletes, inventors to artists, failure is the silent companion of every pursuit worth chasing. Yet, too many people mistake failure for a verdict when, in reality, it's only feedback. To fail at a task is not to fail as a person. It doesn't brand your character. It doesn't cancel your future. It is merely a checkpoint that asks, what will you do differently next time? Thomas Edison famously said, I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Imagine if he had stopped after his first 100 attempts, the light bulb that illuminated the world would never have been born. Edison understood what many still resist. Failure is not the enemy of success, it's its partner. Success is often pursued in the company of failures. Every attempt that doesn't work out clears the path for the one that eventually does. Michael Jordan, the basketball legend, once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." What set Jordan apart wasn't perfection, but perspective. He embraced failure as part of the process. Each miss strengthened his resolve, each loss sharpened his focus. Failure becomes dangerous only when it becomes a mindset, when you accept it as identity instead of incident. Many people don't just fail, they start to see themselves as failures. That is the true defeat. The resilient see failure differently. They know struggle is the tuition you pay for growth. Pain is preparation, rejection is redirection. What doesn't work out today builds the character you'll need tomorrow. Here's the shift: failure isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. Each setback sculpts resilience, courage, and wisdom that cannot be earned in comfort. The scars of failure are not shame, they are proof that you dared to try. Greatness isn't the absence of failure, it's the mastery of response to it. The most successful people you admire are not those who avoided falling, but those who refused to stay down. So when you face failure, and you will, ask yourself, will I see this as the end, or as the beginning of something better? Your answer will determine whether you stay buried in disappointment or rise renewed. The mountain that refused to bow. The year was 1924. High on the frozen ridge of Mount Everest, George Mallory and Sandy Irvine pressed upward into thinning air, each step a battle against gravity and their own fading breath. Far below, Noel Odell saw their silhouettes nearing the summit before clouds swallowed them whole. That was the last time they were seen alive. When the surviving climbers returned to England, grief and glory mingled in the hall of their welcome banquet. Behind the speaker stood a towering image of Everest. Turning toward it, he declared, "Mount Everest, you defeated us once, you defeated us twice, you defeated us 3 times, but Mount Everest, we shall someday defeat you. For you cannot grow any bigger, but we can." That vow captured the truth about failure. The mountain had not been conquered, but neither had the men been conquered. Their loss became a foundation, a stepping stone for those who would one day stand on the peak. Failure should be seen the same way, not as an ending but as a beginning. It is not the enemy of success, it is its foundation. Every summit is reached through dreaming, falling, recalibrating, and rising again. Every failure is a lesson. Every setback is a stone in the foundation of your future. Success without struggle is shallow. Success built on failure is unshakable. So hold faith in yourself. Keep walking. Keep climbing. Keep daring, even when the ground gives way beneath your feet. You may be knocked down, but you are never defeated unless you refuse to rise. The mountain cannot shrink, but you can grow, and in that growth lies the truth. The wait is worth it. Final reflection. Failure doesn't close doors, it opens them. It doesn't weaken your character, it reveals it. Success and failure are not enemies, they are dance partners. Learning to move gracefully with both is what leads to mastery. Failure isn't a dead end, it's a detour pointing you toward your true path. Chapter 12, The Relativity of Time. Time isn't collapsing. The future is something which everyone reaches at the rate of 60 minutes an hour, whatever he does, whoever he is. C.S. Lewis. One of the most revolutionary concepts that we learned in the 20th century is that time is not a universal measurement. It doesn't matter how much our lives are governed by the same seconds, minutes, hours, days, and weeks, regardless of where we live on the globe, time will never be absolute. The rate at which it passes depends entirely on your speed and acceleration at any given moment. But how exactly can time be slower and faster at the same time? Einstein's theory of relativity gave us a startling truth. Time bends. It stretches and compresses depending on gravity and velocity. Two people can live through the same number of minutes but experience them differently. One feels like a lifetime, the other, a blink. This is not just a law of physics, it's a law of life. We have all met someone who seems to move slower than the rest, yet achieves more. And we've seen others rushing, pushing, forcing things, yet nothing seems to move for them. It is not that time treats them differently, but that their alignment with time differs. Time is not collapsing. It is simply converging in rhythm with our readiness. The illusion of being behind hammering into our subconscious is an absolute travesty. We live in an age of comparison. Social media makes everyone's life appear fast-forwarded. The 23-year-old millionaire, the teenage prodigy, the couple who seem to have it all. Young ladies who got the wedding of their dreams and Maldives-like honeymoon. We scroll and subconsciously whisper to ourselves, "I'm running out of time." The illusion is powerful. The panic it creates is real. Yet Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another follows and is gone." You cannot grasp time any more than you can hold water in your hand. You can only learn to swim with its current. Many of us mistake activity for progress. We confuse speed with direction. We push harder thinking time is slipping away, when in truth, time moves differently for those who are aligned. The person who knows their purpose can accomplish in 5 years what another may not in 50, not because they moved faster, but because they moved with clarity. In the words of a Navy SEAL proverb often used in high-stakes operations, "Slow is smooth and smooth is fast." That phrase is deceptively simple. In a firefight, rushing increases mistakes. But when movements are deliberate, controlled, and efficient, speed emerges naturally. The same applies to life. The calmer you are about your timing, the more effectively you move. When you stop racing against the clock and start working with it, time itself becomes an ally. The hidden geometry of timing. Look at nature. Everything unfolds at its appointed rhythm. The tide comes in and goes out without hurry. The moon waxes and wanes on cue. A seed buried in the earth does not panic about how fast the tree beside it is growing. It simply responds to the conditions within and around it. The universe is not late. The ancients called this synchronicity, a concept Carl Jung defined as a meaningful coincidence of two or more events, where something other than chance is involved. It is that invisible harmony between your effort and the world's readiness. You may work hard for years without visible progress. Then suddenly, one opportunity, one meeting, one idea changes everything. It is not that success appeared overnight, it is that your time arrived. The unseen side of your effort caught up with the visible side of your life. That's what synchronicity is, when your preparation meets perfect timing. The half of the story you control is action, learning, building, showing up. The other half is governed by a universe whose timing is mysterious yet precise. Both halves are essential. Ignore either, and you distort the rhythm. When time finds you ready, there's a moment in every life when preparation meets opportunity. To the outside world, it looks like sudden success, but those who lived the journey know it was years in the making. That moment is the universe whispering, "Now." You can't force that moment, but you can prepare for it. You can sharpen your skills, nurture your relationships, and stay faithful to your vision, even when no one is watching. Because when time finds you ready, what took years to build will seem to unfold overnight. That's not magic. That's relativity, not in physics, but in purpose. When you move in harmony with your time, the seconds stretch, the hours expand, and the days begin to make sense. So no, you're not running out of time. You're running into it. You're catching up with the version of yourself that's already arrived in another dimension of readiness. Time isn't collapsing, it's converging. And when it finally meets your courage, your patience, and your preparation, it will reveal what it was building all along. You're not late. You're arriving exactly on time for the life you've been preparing to live. Reflections. Time is not a race, it's a rhythm. Every delay has a design. What you call late may simply be in progress. Reflect on how your biggest breakthroughs came after moments that once felt like standstills. You are not behind, you are becoming. Growth doesn't always announce itself with visible progress. Sometimes it's happening underground, like the bamboo plant. The universe moves at the speed of readiness. When your preparation and timing finally meet, things that seemed impossible suddenly unfold effortlessly. Action plan, aligning with time. Audit your pace. 1. Take one area of your life, career, relationship, finances, health, and ask, am I rushing, resisting, or aligning? 2. Adjust your approach. Sometimes slowing down is the real acceleration. Build daily roots. Choose one consistent habit that grounds you. Reading, journaling, exercise, meditation, prayer, or study. These are your rooting years. Without deep roots, growth can't sustain itself. Collaborate with time. Create a season map. Write down what season you believe you are in: learning, building, waiting, launching. Don't fight the season. Master it. Anchor with gratitude every evening. List 3 things that are working now, not just what you hope will work later. Gratitude keeps you in sync with the present instead of lost in the illusion of delay. Live the principle: slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Before making a major decision or responding in haste, pause. Ask, am I acting from fear of running out of time or from clarity of purpose? Choose clarity. Speed will follow. Journal prompts: synchronizing your inner clock. What does being on time mean to me? Whose definition am I following? Where in my life do I feel rushed? And what would happen if I trusted timing instead of forcing it? Recall a past delay that turned out to be a blessing. What did time teach you then? What habits or distractions make me feel behind, even when I'm progressing? If I truly believed time is working with me, how would I act differently starting tomorrow? Chapter 13, The Fear Cave. Argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they're yours. Richard Bach. 2 young lambs were captured and placed in cages. One lamb's cage stood alone in the open field, isolated, yes, but peaceful. The other was caged right beside a large, ferocious wolf, also trapped behind strong iron bars. Day after day, the first lamb lay quietly, untouched by fear. No danger nearby, no reason to be anxious. The second lamb, however, lived differently. Though the wolf could not reach him, its sharp teeth, cold eyes, and menacing growls haunted him. Every day he trembled. Every night he barely slept. The wolf never attacked, it couldn't, but the fear was always there. Months passed. When both cages were finally opened, the first lamb leapt out with energy and clarity. But the second lamb, weak from stress, frail from sleeplessness, broken from constant fear, could barely walk. The wolf never harmed him, but the fear did. Most of us are not destroyed by what happens to us, but by what we allow ourselves to fear might happen. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. The cages in life are often temporary. The wolves are powerless. Fear, however, transforms the benign into the monstrous. It drains our energy, clouds our judgment, and paralyses our progress. Psychologists call this the exhaustion curve, where prolonged stress wears us down long before any real threat arrives. Years ago, Reader's Digest featured the true story of Nick Sitzman, a strong, healthy, and ambitious young railroad yardman who was a hard worker and had a loving wife, 2 children, and many friends. One summer day, the train crews were able to end their workday an hour early. While performing one last check on some of the railroad cars, Nick was accidentally locked in a refrigerator boxcar. When he realized that the rest of the workmen had left the site, Nick started to panic. He banged and shouted repeatedly, but no one heard him. With his knowledge, he predicted the temperature inside the car to be 0 degrees. Nick's thought was, if I can't get out, I'll freeze to death in here. Wanting to let his wife and family know exactly what had happened to him, he found a knife and began to etch words into the wooden floor. He wrote, "It's so cold, my body is getting numb. If I could just go to sleep. These may be my last words." The next morning, his fellow crew slid open the heavy doors of the boxcar and found Nick dead. An autopsy revealed that every physical sign of his body indicated he had frozen to death. And yet the refrigeration unit was inoperative, and the temperature inside indicated 55 OF. Nick had killed himself by the power of his own thoughts. He died of hypothermia in an unplugged freezer as a result of heightened imagination of fear and danger. This is not one antidote to all fears, not about living without wolves, it's about mastering fear. Obstacles weigh ounces, the fear of them weighs tons. In 1991, Virgin Atlantic was granted access to Heathrow, which posed a serious threat to British Airways. What followed was legendary, a dirty tricks campaign of espionage and sabotage. BA allegedly hacked Virgin systems, impersonated its staff, leaked rumors to the media, and even rummaged through garbage to tarnish Virgin's reputation. Branson responded. He took the fight to court and won, winning £610,000 in libel damages and £3 million in legal costs, which he distributed to Virgin employees as a British Airways bonus. Here's the point: when the world expects you to crumble, be the underdog that dares. Let fear be the wolf they see, but let courage be your cage. Another lamb, Jack Ma, born Ma Yun in Hangzhou, 1964. He failed his primary exam twice, struggled through middle school, and failed the college entrance exam twice as well. He was rejected from 30 jobs, including being the only one turned down from a KFC of 24 candidates. He applied and was rejected by Harvard 10 times. In the early days of Alibaba, he struggled to gain traction. The company wasn't profitable for years, and at one point was closer to bankruptcy than success. Eventually, through relentless perseverance, he built a global e-commerce empire, with a personal fortune estimated net worth climbing into $34 billion. Jack often reminds us, if you don't give up, you still have a chance. Giving up is the greatest failure. The fear cage is not around us, it's inside us. It's not the wolves we should fear, but the smallness they impose on us through our silence, our hesitation, our self-doubt. Your reality is nothing more than the stories you tell yourself. We may never find ourselves in a life or death situation like Nick Sitzman, but our negative thoughts, if left uncontrolled, will slowly kill us over time. We're always going to have negative thoughts, that's a given, but that's not the problem. The true problem arises when we give our negative thoughts the energy to grow and allow them to control our life. It's therefore crucially important we learn how to control our thoughts. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the choice to act despite it. Reflection. What wolves are caged beside you, real or imagined? Where are you trembling from fear, not from danger? Which cages are you accepting as permanent when they can be unlocked? Action. List one fear you've built into a barrier, and take one step today to confront it. Choose one small but courageous act, make a call, pitch an idea, start that project. Journal. Today, how well did I act despite fear? If my fear